I have with me Frank Shamrock. He's the renowned American mixed martial arts fighter, TV host, and one of the smartest men on this side of heaven. And Frank, good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. You have an organization, a challenge, what you call the Warriors Challenge House Build. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I was doing research last night on you. You grew up abused and locked in a closet by your parents. According to you, was those your real parents or adopted parents?
Those are my real parents. Yeah, my mom, my stepdad. And yeah, from an early age, I didn't become conscious of it until I was about 8 or 9. But from when I was a baby on, as a punishment, they would put me in a closet for hours on end, and that was one of my punishments to help keep me in line.
That's amazing. And did they leave the house and leave you in the closet, or were they around?
I'm not sure. I think a lot of times they were there. I think it was more of like the example. So they would put me in there as kind of like the example, and then the family would function around me, and I would be in there. So it was both. I think both things happened. It was very traumatic for me, so I don't remember a lot of it. And I would just kind of go into a little special, place and try to just, escape from the situation. So you would just sit there? Yeah, just sit in the closet. No, it was like where you put your towels. But they would take the towels out, and then I would crawl into the shelf, and I would just lay there in the dark for hours. That was my punishment. Why do you think your mother? I understand maybe the stepfather didn't care because you were not his son, but why would your mother do that to you? Well, I can only imagine it's what happened to her. I can only imagine that she probably was given the exact same punishment. I never knew that it was my mother until I was about 35, because I only remember my stepfather locking me in a closet. But when I was 35 and I wrote a book about my life, one of my aunts came out and said, "Man, I found you hanging in the closet when you were 2 years old by the back of your knees." And she's like, "This has been going on your whole life." Did you ever ask your mother about it as an adult? Did you talk to her about it? I asked her, and she said, that's what we do. That's what we did. So amazing. Yeah, I think she came up that way. She came up, I think, in a very, challenged household, and I think she was a victim of abuse. So I think she just did what was very natural to her. I also read that you were in and out of juvenile detention and even prison as a young man to get away from your family. Yeah, it's true. Well, yeah, the very first time I was able to get away from my family was I threw rocks at a train. Just a kid throwing rocks at a train. That was a felony. I got arrested. I got sent to juvenile hall. And it was the very first time where I was away from my family, and I had a community to talk to. And when I started telling them what was happening to me, they were like, that's not right. And they were the first one. The criminal community was the first ones to give me some heads up that maybe I should get out. That's amazing. And so how are you today? Well, I feel pretty good now. I mean, I've been very blessed, and I've been very successful in my sports career and my television, my business, and my life. And so God has blessed me with everything I could ever need or imagine, and including love in my heart and forgiveness. And I feel like a normal person. You forgave your mother and stepfather? I did, yes. And did you tell them that? I did, yeah. What did they say? They just said they were sorry. They said, "I'm sorry." Amazing. Yeah. And so are you married? I am. Mm-hmm. And what has it been like for you since being married? Have you passed some of that down to your family, your wife and kids? Totally, yeah. And this time, I was very aware of myself and then what happened to me. So, for this generation, I made a very conscious effort not to repeat any of those things and to change the stories. I mean, all the stories have changed. The stories are different because the world is different now for my new generation. Do you have anger now? No, but I get frustrated and I get upset because I know this is happening to more people. Yeah. That's as a being, a human being, that to me is painful. But if you didn't have anger, it would be impossible to get frustrated or upset because it's the spirit of anger that brings on all those things. True. So you do have anger then? Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel Yeah, I'm upset that this happened to me, and so upset that I wouldn't want it to happen to anybody else. That's what it is to me. To me, it's like, okay, this really happened, and we got to stop it. You know, that's why I was so conscious in my new generation and my child that we're going to change all of this. We'll change the story. We're going to change the lessons. We're going to change the tools, everything.
While you were in prison, you were separated by race. And I wanted to ask, I know that they do that in prison. Is that the real world? Should they do that in prison, or should they allow the races to be together?
In prison, they have to separate the races.
And why?
Because in prison, the only thing left is power. Because all of your power and all of your social and all of your humanity is taken away. So the only thing left are your people. And those are the people of your color and the people of your race. And so I think it's essential in those situations that they are separated by race, because organically they begin to, gel as races and start to act, in race as a race. So I think it's somewhat organic. I'm not sure it's doable at the higher level securities to integrate everybody.
Do you believe that racism exists?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And why do you believe that? Where's the proof that racism exists?
Well, I see it every day, and it happens to me all the time.
Give me an example of racism.
Well, racism for me is I see I live in Hollywood, so I walk around on Rodeo Drive, but I'm not the right color to walk around on Rodeo Drive. I get triple looks, and I get people to follow me in stores and ask me 5 times if I need help. I don't need any help. I got all the money in the world, but they're following me because I don't look like I belong in that area.
How do you know that?
Because they're not following the other people.
But you are a famous person, well-known person. Maybe they just, how people are drawn to famous people.
Yeah, but I tell the difference. And I used to travel the United States fighting, and each state is different. But I fought in the Carolinas and Alabama and Mississippi, and I've traveled all through there. And they do the same thing. They follow me in the stores, and they follow anybody of color. They follow anybody that's not like them because it's built in.
But it also could be due to the fact that not all, but most black people have not raised their children properly. And the kids are morally bankrupt, and they're very angry because they hate their mothers and grandmothers, and they're yearning for their fathers. And they are known to go into stores and businesses and steal, and they have no care about doing that. Even black people will not, for the most part, won't start businesses in the black community because they know that they'll be ripped off by other black people. Is that racism?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
It's spirit.
But why isn't that racism? They're doing just what the white people are doing, protecting their merchandise because blacks have a reputation of stealing. Why, when blacks follow other blacks around in the store, it's not racism, but if whites do it, it's racism?
Well, I don't know. I've never lived in a black community, so I only know what I know from my black friends. And what I know from my black friends, it really sucks to be black, and it's really scary. And that whole education and that whole social and that whole integration process is really scary. All I know is I've traveled the United States and I've traveled the world. And I know for a fact, because of the color of my skin and where I'm from, people treat me differently, and they communicate with me differently, and they interact with me differently because that's what they're comfortable doing.
What's your nationality?
I am 32% Native American, 16% English, and I am about 17% Eastern European.
Amazing.
I'm half white and Mexican and Indian.
And so do the Mexicans treat you as though you're white?
The Mexicans don't know what I am. Because I'm not Mexican, and I'm not white, and I'm not. So when I went to prison, I went with the others. There was a race, because I don't know I'm not a color. I'm just me. I didn't have any race to connect with. My parents were white. I grew up in a white community with white people, and I thought I was white until I went to juvenile hall, and they were like, who do you run with? What's your race? And I was like, I don't know. Everybody's white. That's when I found out I was Mexican and Indian.
What a messed up world, huh?
Oh, right. I got my education in jail.
Don't believe your black friends about racism. They are lying to you. Black people hate white people because they have not overcome the anger that they feel for their mothers and grandmothers, and they have not returned to the Father. Our battle is a spiritual battle. It's a warfare between good and evil, right or wrong. So it has nothing to do with the color. It has nothing to do with being male or female. It's the heart. If your heart has anger, you're of your father, the devil. And if you don't have anger, you're of God. It's about that and not about color. Can I hold you over for a few more minutes? Because I want to talk about your organization.
Yeah.
All right. 888-7753-773. I am talking to Frank Shamrock. Back in a moment. So I'm talking to Frank Shamrock, renowned American mixed martial arts fighter. And it's an honor to have you here, Frank. You're a good man.
Thanks, Jesse.
So you're here in L.A.?
Yes, I live in L.A.
We're in L.A. as well, at La Cienega and Pico.
Okay, yeah, I live out in Simi Valley. I'm in Ventura.
Oh,
I'm in my retirement phase, so I got a little space out here.
Right on. And so when I say that, are you a Christian?
I am.
When I say that our battle is a spiritual battle, it has nothing to do with color. It has nothing to do with male or female. You have people who are of their father, the devil. They have anger, so they're evil. And you have those who have overcome anger. Their hearts have been renewed, and they're of God, of good. And that's what we're dealing with. And if it is a spiritual battle, how can it be racial if it's spiritual? Because blacks treat blacks worse than white treats black. And I'm sure in the white community, you get the same thing, white on white. And all evil people in family, even your parents, your stepfather and your mother treated you in an evil manner. That wasn't racism. Why don't Christians understand that it's not about race, but character?
I don't know. I've been a good Christian my whole life, and I've been brown my whole life, and I have known it about half of my life.
Yeah.
And the only reason I know that people have racism is because on occasion people treat me differently. And I make an effort to make myself the same as every other human being, even though I have more than most. So I'm pretty certain just in our country, there's this default to ignorance and racism, and I'm not sure where it comes from, but I feel it, and I feel bad for those that suffer it.
I grew up on a plantation down in Alabama under the Jim Crow laws, and prior to the civil rights movement, we were not calling it racism. We called it right from wrong, because there were good blacks and good whites and bad blacks and bad whites, and we treated each other accordingly. And the Jim Crow law had nothing to do with most white people. This idea of racism only came about when the civil rights movement started, and the race hustlers made up that word in order to divide and conquer, that they may gain power and wealth. They put fear in white people, and they keep black people down by causing blacks to hate whites and blame whites. And so it's just a made-up word in order to control us for personal gain. Is that possible?
It's possible, but I'm not black, and I've experienced it only because I've grown up in white communities.
Well,
I don't matter what color you are. I think it just matters that there's a definite distinction between people, and for whatever reason, it's more prominent in our country. Because when I travel the world, there's less consideration or concerns or thoughts about it. People don't care.
Right.
We, for some reason, we're all up in people's business, and we're all concerned with color. We all want to know what color they are. None of it matters.
Well, that's because the children of the lie keep it going. People, the Democratic Party, the liberal media, the so-called civil rights leaders, the NAACP, the Black Caucus, the radical homosexuals, and most of the black preachers, they keep that idea going, because if we ever lose that idea and just become living beings, then those race hustlers would go out of business. If the Democratic Party couldn't use the words racism or word racism, they would not exist. That's the only way they're able to keep blacks on the plantation, by using the word racism.
I don't know. I used to train Maurice Smith, who was the first black mixed martial arts champion in the United States. We fought in Mobile, Alabama for the heavyweight championship of the world. We fought a white opponent, and he was spit on and thrown beer on, and we had to escort him out of the arena after he won the championship. He was the champion. He came in as the champion. He left covered with beer and spit because he was black.
But so that was evil, but not racism. Let me ask about, because of the time, you're doing a Warriors Challenge House bill. Where, when, but first tell us, what is the Warrior Challenge House bill?
Well, the Warriors Challenge is, I challenge a friend of mine, somebody with substance and opportunity and value to go do something amazing. And what we're doing is we're building homes for people that don't have them. So we're going to Rosarito, Mexico, June 1st through the 4th, and we're building 2 homes in Mexico for 2 very lovely families that are looking for a way to step up out of poverty. And we built 2 homes in 2 days. It's one of the most powerful social, giving, and then competitive experiences that you can do. It's pretty amazing.
How can people help you? What do you need from the people?
Well, we need support, because it's a crazy idea that you just go randomly help people that are in need, regardless of their race and color, and you help prop them up. Like, that's a robust idea. I'd love for people just to share. But also, we're accepting donations. This whole thing is done through charity. Our charity is shamrockway.org, and you can make a donation there. You can support. You can fundraise for the event, or you can come build with us. We have 3 spots left for the men. The women's team is all filled. Women came out crazy, filled up their team overnight. But we got 3 more spots left for the men if you're interested in coming out and building a home with us.
And how can they reach you again?
You can find us at shamrockway.org, or you can go to warriorschallenge.us, and that's everything on this event this coming weekend. And my daughter will be there. Some of my family friends will be there. And it's just a fantastic social event. It really is impactful.
In short, how did you get into mixed martial arts? What drew you to that?
Well, I ended up in prison. I was 21 years old. I really had no direction or opportunity. And I had one group home father who had stuck with me the whole time throughout all my troubles. And he basically sat me down like a dad. And he's like, listen, you screwed up your life, but here's a way for you to turn it around. Mixed martial arts has taken off. If you show up, if you train, if you fight, if you give your all, you could be successful here. And I followed his advice, and I showed up, the next day at the dojo, and I never left.
How long were you in prison?
I was in prison for 3.5 years.
Amazing. Where's your real father?
My real father passed away on the 25th of May, just a few days ago.
Amazing. And were you able to return to your real father? Did you guys become as one?
Yeah. I never knew him. He was in my life for a week when I was about 11 years old, before I got sent to the institutions and stuff. I never once knew the man.
And so did you get to know him before he expired?
I talked to him on the phone, and I prayed with him, and I forgave him, and I shared all my love with him. And then I sent him on his journey. Amazing.
Yeah. In short, what was it like for you inwardly growing up without your real father, your natural father?
It was really hard.
Yeah.
Because, and I think a lot of, the black community kids feel this.
Yeah.
No guidance, no support, no direction, no hope. Like, you're just lost. You're like out there. That's why, the religion, the community, that's why, love is so powerful, because I felt hopeless for my whole life until I found fighting. And then fighting, I was like, oh, okay, now I got a chance.
The worst thing that can happen to a human being, whether male or female, is to be turned away from their fathers. It leaves a void deep down in your soul that nothing else can fulfill it unless you return to your earthly father. And that's what blacks and others are going through who have not been raised up close to their father. That emptiness is coming from that, a yearning for the father.
Yeah, no, I feel it, and I can see their pain. I felt the pain.
Yeah.
It's lonely and it's sad, and then if you give that to your child, it just keeps going.
That's why we need to get rid of this lie that is about race or racism. It's really about a return to the father, a yearning for the father. Frank, thank you so much for coming on. That was fun.
My pleasure.
We'll have you back. I wish you well in what you're doing.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. God bless you.
And God bless you.